Welcome back. This is December 15th, 2015. I'd like to thank the volunteer crew and the Shaw staff that makes this program happen every week. Our guest in this segment is Vic Derman, and we're going to be talking about sewage treatment. Vic, you were on the show a few weeks ago, and you were bringing a motion forward to the Sewage Treatment Committee, asking them to basically, as you've been doing for a long time, open the process up to just to what's out there, the technologies that are out there. So how did that go?
I guess not well, Jack. The motion was defeated by the committee, and they declined to do what I had requested.
And can you I probably didn't explain your request
Quite well. Basically, we have goals in the project, 5 or 6 goals. Meet federal regulations, do the project at the lowest possible cost to the taxpayer, net cost, maximize resource recovery, maximize response to climate change. Well, what I've been saying for a long time is, okay, what you do then is you go out to industry in what's called a request for expressions of interest or similar, and you basically say, these are our goals. This is what we want to accomplish. What's your best answer? So that you get a lot of very good minds in a lot of places really thinking about it and coming up with a variety of solutions that you can then pick the best from.
And so I live in Victoria,
yeah.
And I know we have 4 city councillors on this committee. Did they support your
No, none of them did, actually.
I'm very disappointed over the years in our Victoria councillors that have been on this committee, because they've moved us steadily ahead in direction. Because my feeling is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that had we built the original plan, which was stopped because Esquimalt wouldn't let it be built in Esquimalt, we were going to spend about $1 billion for virtually no environmental benefit. We were taking the problem we were putting into the ocean, bringing it onto the land, and having to deal with it here. We
were projected to spend around $800 million. Although final bids may have made that somewhat lower or somewhat higher. The problem was that you're right, and in my view, we really weren't going to get much net environmental benefit. Yes, we would get some benefit in the ocean, although the problem isn't huge there at the current time, but in turn we would have issues of pollution of the airshed potentially, pollution of various streams, creeks, having to dispose of material, use cost of energy. The $800 million was, of course, just capital cost. Then you have to operate it, and the life cycle cost for 30 or 40 years was over $2 billion, which is substantial. So maybe, where are we at this time around?
Yes.
I'd hope that as we reconstituted at the start of this year, and new members of the committee, new people elected, and so forth, that we might come up with a better result. Well, we hired a consultant to provide us with 4 options, and those options came in to us about a week ago, and they range in cost from $1 billion to 1.3. Now, the problem is, back sometime, we asked the public about sites, and first of all, the municipalities provided some sites that were potentially available. And I don't have a problem with that. If they had been these are sites that could be used, but if somebody has something better, then we'll switch to that. At the behest of the chair of the committee, we went out to the public at a big meeting at Ocean Point and asked them to pick what they thought was the best site. They had almost no information on what it would cost, no information on what would go on that site, and so forth. So at that meeting, I was there, and I had a lot of people come up to me and say, "What are you asking me? Sir, I have no information. How can I give you a good answer?"
Yes. I was at the meetings, and that's how I felt.
Exactly, and a lot of people expressed that to me. Well, some people tried to do what we said, and they tried to pick a site. And they picked, as their number 1 choice, Rock Bay. Probably because it's in an industrial area and it seemed at least intrusive of what might be available. But they had no knowledge of cost or what would go on it or whatever. So we get these 4 options, and they all have Rock Bay in it. The first one is for a single plant at Rock Bay. It cost of somewhere around $1 billion. Now, the cost just to get the sewage from Clover Point to Rock Bay and from Esquimalt to Rock Bay and back again is $250 million just to build the pipes and the necessary pump stations and so forth. And that's called conveyance. $250 million just that. One of the things when I brought my motion
Because
forward,
now everything goes to Clover Point
and to Macaulay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now we have to bring them from there to Rock Bay and back.
Yeah, and you probably have to tear up Cook
$250
Street or
million,
whatever
right.
for a considerable period of time. Rock Bay is in every option. So even when you're looking at an option of 7 distributed plants, it really isn't a distributed option because Rock Bay is there.
Right.
And even with 7 plants, the cost of getting sewage to Rock Bay and back is still $170 million. It's only gone down somewhat, but it's still this huge number. Well, when I brought the motion to the committee, one of the things I said was, there are a lot of possible savings in things like conveyancing. If you manage to locate this where you don't have to build that, you potentially could save a lot of money. I hadn't seen the figures at that time. Well, when I saw the figures, yeah, there's $250 million cost right there. So here we are with one consultant trying their best, I'm sure, but who doesn't necessarily represent all the best and leading edge ideas in the field, trying to come up with some solutions. And I'm not comfortable that what they've come up with are the best possible solutions.
Which is a huge problem because we're looking at spending huge amounts of money and we've got to get this right. And that's ignoring the fact that the ocean really doesn't do that bad a job.
Yeah, no, it doesn't actually.
And we're going to have to do a good job in what we build to match that.
Well, I think we can do better. What I've been trying to get the committee to look at is the fact that we can recover resources and make money out of that, especially on the solid side, although there is some recover possibility on the liquid side. You get the biosolids that you can put through a gasifier, and you can get heat from that, and you can also get a gas that can be used as a fuel in a variety of ways and so forth that you can sell, even on today's market. And as energy gets more and more expensive because of climate change and carbon taxes, you can probably do even better. But beyond that, what you could do is you could integrate other parts of the solid waste stream. You could take the kitchen scraps, or a good part of them, and you can put them through the gasifier and generate, again, additional resources. You could probably take a fair amount of the solid waste going into Heartland and put that through the gasifier. Now we're starting to look at some real money because we're getting more and more resources and more heat from it that can be used and more potential or gas that can be put to a variety of uses.
So you think there's an option out there that can
There
do
may
a
well
lot better?
be.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure,
Okay.
but I think it's quite likely that there is.
And you would just like to have
Look
it
at
open
You
to
see,
these options. I don't get why we
if
can't
we were
do
to
that.
design something like that, and if it worked out, you have the value of the resources you create, and that's worth money. You have the value of avoided infrastructure, because instead of having to build one facility for kitchen scraps and one for sewage and so forth, you maybe can do it with one set of infrastructure. That's value. And then you have another source of income that you can transfer into the project, and that's the tipping fees. Right now, people are paying money to get rid of their kitchen scraps. Victoria and Esquimalt and Oak Bay are paying $149 a ton to get rid of their kitchen scraps. Saanich is paying a little less. We have a different arrangement. Still over $100 a ton, or in that range. So if you're going to put the kitchen scraps in the gasifier, people are still able to get rid of their kitchen scraps. So maybe you charge them $85 a ton, or maybe just a flat $100 a ton, which is a saving to them. And you then have a revenue stream there. If you are charging people $109 a ton to dump things into Heartland. So fine, charge them $100 a ton and put it in a gasifier.
So a lot of this depends on what's called gasification. And
well, it could
is
be
that,
gasification.
Could be, or there's
there
other
are
options.
other options.
At least we should be looking for the best.
Absolutely, because I know there's one company that has said that they would use this kind of approach, and that their absolute cost to the taxpayer would be $250 million or less. Now, I don't know that they're necessarily right on that, but they may well be.
And we should look into it.
Of course we should.
And we haven't.
And we haven't.
Okay.
Not properly.
So there were going to be some public meetings right about now on moving this to the next step, but those have been canceled. Maybe you can just bring us
Well,
up
they've
to
been
date.
postponed,
Sorry,
actually.
postponed.
Yeah. A couple of reasons. One, the holiday time is not the best time. You know, we're in the Christmas season. That's not the best time to say to people, come on out and talk sewage. You know, you're not going to get the response. But beyond that, I think the committee, at least a lot of members on it, felt that this information was not ready. There were too many things in the estimates that came in, figures that seemed to be controversial, didn't seem to be accurate and so forth, that people said, you know, we need to make sure that this is right, you know, just on these particular options.
So where do we go to get information? We
Well, CRD has a website.
Okay.
And so you can go to the CRD website and it will lead you to the sewage treatment.
I've been there once or twice. I haven't gotten very far in. I mean,
Yeah.
is it a easy and clear path?
The website isn't the easiest, but I think you'll find your
Okay.
way. But the, you know, even things like the flow numbers seem to be questionable compared to past estimates. There were things in there like the cost of gasification was estimated between about $300 to $400 million, or 270 to $400 million capital cost. I've come to know gasification reasonably well over the last number of years. I suspect anybody who knows it well would say we can do that gasification project for well under $100 million. You know, so
we're
that's a
seeing
big
number.
number.
Vic, we're out of time. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Jack. Always is.
Yeah, and still, we've got to do this right, folks, and it's up to us. Thanks for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.